as I told you the story when we were warming up here about the meeting with Mayor Jolly, and it's been very educational for me. But I want to say that, if it's a good idea, it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican idea or a Democratic idea, as long as it's a good idea. To me, that the label you put on it doesn't matter. That said, if there's something that I disagree with, I will fight the Republicans tooth and nail. At the moment, it's clear to me that I need to fight tooth and nail. I mean, you look at someone. Yes, very distressing, very, very, very upsetting. It doesn't matter which day of the week you're talking about. There's something that's very bothersome. Yes. And so, it is right to say, if something good comes up, I will work. I want to work across the aisle. But if something is bad, I will fight tooth and nail. I want to tell you a little story about myself. My father was in the military. He retired at Shaw Air Force Base. We're from Sumter. He was a master sergeant in the Air Force. And like a lot of young people, I earned money mowing lawns, cutting people's grass. And I also cut my parents' grass. And I wanted to do that very, very quickly. I wanted to rush through it, run behind the lawnmower to cut it as fast as I can. My father told me to do it thoroughly. But more than that, when I did finish and turn off the lawnmower, I would like to just go inside. I would want to just go inside. But my father would tell me every time I did that, hang on, you've not finished the job. You've got to go out there, you've got to clean off the lawnmower, you've got to put it in the shed, you've got to get ready to come out again. You've got to finish the job. And when I drive through, these areas with nicely mowed lawns, I think of my father quite a lot, and how people should put their lawnmowers in the shed or wherever they are in the carport and clean them off so that they're ready for the next time. But that lesson of finishing the job is coupled with other lessons like, respecting your neighbors, working hard, loving your country. All of those things were inculcated in me by my mother and father, and I bring them to where I am today. There are so many things that are upsetting us now, but we need to work together. There are many items that we need to think about. I have. One of the things that Zach talked about just a moment ago was prescription drugs, the cost of prescription drugs. When we open our headquarters campaign headquarters in Lock Hill, there was a young man that walked up to me and said that he had to choose between prescription drugs and eating, and that's something that should not happen. And so one of the things that we should consider, and something that we've been talking about, is just like we can buy this shirt from outside the country, perhaps we should consider, the importation of drugs from outside the country, as long as they are safely manufactured, as long as they are FDA approved, and you have a doctor's prescription. Those are some of the ideas that we need to be talking about, not just hiding away from, because it is true that pharmaceutical companies do, in fact, other countries negotiate with pharmaceutical companies to hold the cost of those drugs down when they're imported into those countries. And we as a country should consider the same thing. The other thing I might mention is that, multinational corporations stash trillions of dollars outside the United States, and those profits are not taxed. I know the provisions in the Internal Revenue Code that could be amended that would deem those profits distributed to the United States that could be taxed, and thereby those revenues could be used for infrastructure. We desperately need an infrastructure, and they could be used to lower the tax rates of working families. There are a lot of people that say, we cannot win the 5th district, that it's been gerrymandered, as Mayor Jolly said. But if you look at the American people, we've exceeded expectations so often that it's become something that we're known for. If you look back to the Revolutionary War, who would have thought that a bunch of ragtag patriots would defeat the British Empire? But we did it. Who would have thought that after the Great Depression we would have been able to recover from that? But we did it. Who would have thought that we would put a man on the moon, but we did it. Who would have thought that we would have cell phones in our pocket, but we did it. So there are many, many things that we can point to where we have exceeded expectations. And I think, again, here in the 5th District, with all of your help together, we can flip the 5th, and we can take this back to the Democratic side of the aisle. I would like to become a congressman in the mold of John Spratt. John Spratt has very kindly endorsed me. I saw John Spratt last night. He's a very honorable man that has worked very hard for this district and honorably. He reaches across the aisle. He has he had a focus on constituent service, whereas the last congressman ignored in large measure constituent service. And so the one thing that a congressman does have control of is constituent service. And I would focus on that not only for individuals, but also for the institutions within the 5th District. Mayor Eccles of Rock Hill has called me recently about block grants and the changes that are being proposed in the budget on those. And he reminded me of when he would call Congressman Spratt and how Congressman Spratt helped him navigate the corridors in Washington, whereas Congressman Mulvaney would in effect ignore his calls. And so all of that to say that we can flip the 5th, we can change this into a Democratic seat again, but we can only do that together. That's the only way we can do it. And I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank also Governor O'Malley for being here. He's been very, very kind. He's been with us in Rock Hill this morning. He then came to Camden at lunch, and then after that he's here, and then tonight to Greenville. And so it's been a very, very busy day. He's a much more articulate man than I will ever be. But I want to thank him for being here, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let's give it up for Archie Parnell, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to be in Gaffney. Mayor, it's great to meet you. Your reputation, sir, preceded you, and you know that you have a good congressional candidate when mayors rally around them. Because mayors are all about getting the job done. They don't know about a Democratic or Republican way to fix potholes. It's all about serving the people, getting things done, and bringing people together. And that's what you have in Archie Parnell. And Sarah, thank you for letting him run. We know it's harder on spouses than it is on the actual candidates. I see a University of Maryland gymnastics shirt up there in the front row. Did you go to Maryland?
No, I'm committed on an athletic scholarship.
Oh, how about that? Athletic scholarship, University of Maryland. Big round of applause. One of what?
Class of 2023, maybe?
Oh, that's terrific. Boy, I wish one of my kids had gotten a scholarship. If they had, I wouldn't be in so much debt. Archie, which is one more issue that you have to work on, is making college more affordable, making healthcare more affordable. None of these things are things that get done in the course of any 4 years or any 8 years, but we are certainly headed in a much better direction today, thanks to the leadership of Barack Obama and others who stood up over these last 8 years. Anything? Look, I wanted to come down because I heard you had a hot congressional race. And I like going to places that can make a difference in the world. And now the eyes of the nation are upon Gaffney, because you have the ability here in the 5th Congressional District really to show that there's a goodness within our country that's just waiting to be called forward. The guy who's currently in the White House is all about playing people off against each other, all about fear, all about how horrible the world can be. But look, we're Americans. We don't fear the world. We make change ours. We harness it for the sake of our kids and for our grandkids. And that's what Archie believes as well. That's why he's running. He's from Sumter, South Carolina. You heard a bit about his life story. He worked 3 jobs to get through college. So top that, 3 jobs to get through college. He understands that promises that our nation has made, especially to our seniors, on Social Security and Medicare are promises we need to keep, and he's going to fight for those. A word or two about the gentleman that he's running against. Look, talk about potholes. Talk about potholes. His opponent is a man who has voted against every single roads bill and every roads project that ever came down the pike, except for the one that brought a road to his property so he could develop.
That's the truth, too.
And that's the truth. He's a person who says keep out the immigrants and build walls, and yet he employs undocumented people to work on his properties. Look, we need a congressperson who's actually straight up. The mayor talked about preaching to the choir. Dr. King said it's important to preach to the choir, otherwise they stop singing. So I know it's hot, and I know that many of you are about to go out and knock on doors. And there's nothing more important than one person talking to another person. There's a despair in our country, there really and truly is. There's a lot of people that think our best days are behind us, that somehow the pace of change, whether it's automation or global trade or any number of other things, has somehow outpaced our ability to look out for each other. But make no mistake about it, there's powerful truths that unite us. And one of those truths is that we understand that our economy is not money, it's people. It's all of our people.
Yes.
And our House of Representatives should represent the people. Not corporate interests, not the concentration of wealth. You're not going to build up America's middle class by holding down wages, and you're not going to increase the well-being of our people by shoving 23 million Americans off of health care. We need to make it better, not do away with it. So look, I'm counting on you. I think I came the furthest of anybody here today. Anybody further than Maryland? We've got it. You have an opportunity here. I've traveled all around the country, Archie. I went to closer to home in Delaware. There was a woman named Stephanie Hansen. She was running for state senate in an open seat, a seat that Democrats had only held by 2 points. But because of the wellspring of activism that's been coming up ever since the last disappointing national election, you know what she won that seat by? Not 2 points, not 4, not 8. She won that seat with 16 points. You've seen on TV the young guy down in Georgia who's running for Congress.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And that's in Newt Gingrich's former district, I do believe, right?
Yes.
Nobody thought a Democrat would have any chance here. Guess what? He got more votes than anybody else in that first primary, and now he's squaring off. There is something happening out in our country, and it's a good thing. It's not fear, it's not loathing. It's an appreciation that great republics sometimes make mistakes, but great people know how to correct their mistakes. That's why, fortunately, we have congressional elections every couple of years and elect a president only once every 4 years. We need to get our country back on the road. We need to get our country facing forward. And Archie's the sort of candidate that I think we should be very, very grateful that we have running. That we take for granted sometime when good people run for office. Can't take it for granted, or you see what can happen. So get out there, knock on doors like the future of your country depends on it, because it just might, and help Archie. We need quality people in the House, and he's just the kind of candidate that can serve all of the people of the 5th. Thanks very, very much.